Hello. Hi, Hannah.
Hello. I think I did it.
You made it, Anne-Marie. You made
it. Exciting.
Absolutely exciting. I think there was a number of people traveling today, so might just have a few people with us tonight.
Right.
Hi, Samantha.
Hi.
I watched that video this morning. It was I loved it. It was just so relaxing and it was almost like I sitting there with you doing it.
I'm so glad. Was it the one where I was doing field sketching?
Yes. And see, I've never taken a class in that, so that's exciting. I've never done it outside like that. I've always done it from a photograph, so that's cool.
Yeah, it's what you kind of want to work up to. Just be able to sit in a park and relax. I think we might have everybody that's able to make it today, so we can get started. I've got it open so people can just kind of come and go. So if you lose connection, just go back to the same email and click the same link. So from the beginning, I talk a lot about breathing. So we like to relax because when you relax and you're learning, you're going to absorb some more. So we did things like turn your paper upside down to check your work. It shows you a different perspective. We did it a lot in class. So we started out with basic supplies and what I use, and you can expand that. B pencils are primary go-to right in the beginning because they're easier to erase. And tonight we're going to dive a little bit into the blender and use the kneaded eraser, which we haven't used in our supply list. I'm going to demonstrate that a little bit once we get drawing. We also touched base a lot on values and just trying to stretch your value scale, getting it's just at least 3 to 10. 10's like spectacular, in between black and white. The more values you have, the more contrast you have, the more you can make a dramatic effect in your rendering. And getting the egg. So the egg is just where your piece is going to be. So this square would be the egg, and we drew this center line on our apple circle last week, and that's just a line that you would eventually erase. And we also do the center horizontal and center vertical so that you can start to place things and then erase those. So that's just a little bit of review. We got into light source with this, not too much. It was just a really good practice with everything that we've learned, and touch a little bit into just being aware that light source is going to change the direction and the value of the shadow as well as the light source on the object itself. And then we did the bucket. I think I hope all of you got a little bit of time just texture blending or texture instead of blending, and getting the values with cross-hatching and diagonals, and seeing what kind of light to dark textures you can get with that. And that was the bucket that we did. So that's where we are to date. I just wanted to see if anybody had any questions before we dive into today's lesson, because we're going to go into another just practice on getting the egg, drawing something else that I have in mind that I sent that second packet to you in last week's email. And then we'll follow up with just developing a practice so that you can build on your skill with a regular drawing practice. So anybody have any questions or reflections from last week? or something they really want to focus on before we end this 3-lesson session. You can go ahead and unmute yourself if you have any questions at all.
I don't have any questions, but the bucket was really hard for me this week. I tend to want to just be like smooth, so I practice. It's important, but I'm getting there. But yeah, that was a challenge for sure.
So how was the drawing part of it, like getting the bucket down?
That was easier than the shading and the hatching. Yeah.
So you tend to lean more towards the blending than just leaving the lines so you can see the lines.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Good. So if you were in my class, like physically in my class, I'd be watching you draw. And sometimes I might say, let's try something different. So choosing things that have texture like that might not be where you want to start. You might want to start with things that have smooth blending techniques, because in the beginning, you just want that motivation, that desire to want to practice.
Mm-hmm.
So if right off the bat, you're like, I don't know about this cross-hatching thing. It's actually not my thing either, but
Yeah.
It's something to introduce to beginner drawing, because you never know when you're out in nature if you want to, draw a bucket.
Yeah.
But you might not pick something with rough texture. So
Mm-hmm.
you can lean towards something. This is really good. When you can choose what you like drawing, you're going to draw more often.
Mm-hmm.
So high contrast is going to be what I'd lean towards, and then smooth surfaces. So I might make note of that when you want to like pick 2 times a week, you want to do 50-minute drawings. Look for things that are smooth and in bright light.
Great. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else? All right. So I'm not going to go over the apples because that's something that I give quite often. That's also in the packet that I shared. If you can't find it, just email me anytime and I can send things to you directly. This is something I refer to. I just had this out because it's a nice reminder. You don't have to draw these circles, but just reflecting that the lightest light to the darkest dark, the lightest light to the darkest dark. And then you can plot out the different values that you see up here and remind yourself that you really do want this gradation of light to dark. So sometimes I'll bring that out if I need a reminder. This is what I'm hoping to tackle today because it's basically review. So when we did the bucket, what we started out with was we find the egg. So we get a straight edge. So eventually what we're going to end up with is a rectangle. So that's what your beginning part will be, is a rectangle. And it'll look something like that when you're done. So that you can start to, and this is a form of gridding, to get a horizontal and a vertical center. And what I did when I was drawing this is I drew another line in between those. So I could start breaking down areas like that. And it kind of helps to see where this touches right here and this side touches right here. If I have that one extra line, I'm guessing a lot less. So what we're going to do with our drawing time today is we're going to get this down as a line drawing as quickly as you can. And, don't worry about too much detail. You just want the line drawing. And then what we're going to do is we're going to work off this. I'll leave this up so you can see it. And we're going to get this value with the side of the pencil, with a 4B and a 6B if you have it. And then we're going to work on shading with the blender and lifting with the kneaded eraser. Does everybody have those supplies today?
I have to go grab my blenders, but yes, I do have them.
Perfect. Take your time. Yep. Whenever you're ready, just get started with the rectangle. And can everybody see this drawing here? So you want to start with the rectangle. And Hannah, even if you can't see it now, at least get like the practice down, like how you're going to start with, just get the egg down, which is the rectangle, get horizontal, get vertical, so you have center. And just like the tools of getting your subject down as quickly as you can without spending too much time on it. And while you're drawing, what I'm going to do is just keep, you can block me out if it's distracting, but I'm just going to show you parts that helped me to get this on the paper. So as I was drawing, I had trouble with this part right here because if you can't see it, it's a little rickety. See how it's not a straight line? So what I did was I did a draw through and I took my pencil and I just went like this. And then you can see where those two lines touch. And then when I went up center, the two lines are right there and center's right there. So it's a little bit off center. That gave me just a starting point to get the cap in. The other parts are, we ran into this with the bucket, and that's down on the left side, might be right side where you're looking at it. But there's a triangle if you were to trace this part right here. So when you get center, and then you draw this extra line here, the side of this jug almost hits a little above this line right here. So if you make a little note there, and right in the center of this square that I've made, a little note there, that line gives you an angle for the jug. And the jug hits center right there. That gives you an idea of how to angle this and then go up. And then it hits almost on that same line right here. Because most people will want to draw a jug like this, round. And it's really not, it's almost straight.
Sandy, is this when you want us to like aim our things down so you can see what we're drawing, or just wait until afterwards and show you?
It's totally your call. If you want me to watch, I would love to watch you draw. You know I love that.
Well, I know you had commented one time that sometimes you're just, and you're not actually seeing what everybody's doing.
Yeah, it's a personal preference. Sometimes it's a little intimidating to be watched. So if you're able to and you want to, you can aim it down and I can watch you draw.
I think I can. I'll try.
Just do a shout out if you're struggling with any of the angles so we can talk it through.
Over by where the handle is, I can't quite see like how it curves.
Okay, so what I did with because it's a really funky angle, which I kind of like it. And it's more about this teardrop that's in the center. So if you get the teardrop, and the teardrop is actually, you can use your pencil like this. It's about 3/4 of the width of the top on the fattest part. So once you get that in there and that in there, and when I make this dot right here where it ends, it's right in the middle of that square. So that gives you a little bit of tools to kind of figure out where to put that. This part is the other kind of a tricky part. So what I did was I drew a line straight up there, and that's how close it is to the edge. You can also break it up right here too. And now I know how far up, how far over, and the negative space. Hi, Tanya. If you want to jump right in, feel free. We're going to be doing a line drawing, and then we're going to jump into using the blender with the 4B and the 6B.
Sandra?
Yeah.
On that other side of where, so it would be more like in this area here. Is there another triangle? Yeah, right where your pencil is.
Another triangle here.
Down, no, next down below it. Yeah, it just seems
Yep.
like there's almost another one.
Right down here and over here. So if you draw, so there's a center of this box right here.
Right.
That's where this would touch. You draw it through.
Okay.
There's the triangle looks like this.
Okay.
It does come up a little bit right here. So in between.
Yeah, it's not like it's not laying flat. It's more of, okay.
Yep. Just like if you were to draw from the corner of here, draw a parallel line. That way you can go up this much and a dot over here. And this is how we use gridding. It's just like plotting.
Right. That looks better.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. We'll spend just another minute on getting the line drawing before we start shading. I want to try and practice a little blending and answer any questions. Raise your hand if you've got a line drawing to work with. 1, 2, 3. Tanya, I know you came in late, so like pressure's on. All right, so let's dive a little bit into the values. And I purposely did not get, like, this is not perfect. I just want to focus on, you know, where to start when you have the values, because a lot of times people dive right in with the 6B and they go for the fun stuff. Like, that looks dark, I'm just going to start right there. So grab my 4B and my 6B. So has anyone discovered so far that they're pretty heavy-handed? Raise your hand. Okay, we've got some pretty heavy-handed. Okay, so you might actually also want to grab your 2B if you know that you go in with a heavy hand already. So you can start with the 2B if you want, and then if you're not getting what you want, then if you're not getting it dark enough, then switch to your 4B. So what I'd like to do is on the white space on your papers, just play with some graphite for now. Just use your pencil however you're gonna get a nice blended. You don't want this. You want it on the side. And what I'd like you to do is just try and get it to go lighter. As you get it to go lighter without touching it, without like blending it with the blender, notice if you changed your hand position at all. So everybody got some value to work with? All right, let's take the blender, and you can see this one's already used. That's what you want to touch the paper. You want that whole side. So we're not using it like this. I will rarely, if ever, hold it like this. You want the pressure up top and the angle to be on the side so you have that line. So what I'd like you to do is take that area and blend it. See if you can get all the strokes out so you don't see anything except just a surface, no lines. Drag it out from the darkest part down to the lightest part as if you were dragging paint. That work out okay for everybody? Excellent. So if you can notice anywhere on this where you see that value. So I see it here to here. This really isn't white. This is like that lightest value. You might not be able to see it. You'll just have to trust me. It's like the lightest gray next to the white. So that would be here. And then that would be there. So now what I'd like you to do is take your 6B pencil and right above that area that you used, do the same thing. Just above it. Notice I ignore my scribble. Notice I'm going to leave some space. Notice how I'm using my pencil. I'm going to give it some good pressure. I'm going to get some dark surface area. And what I'm looking at is that. I want to get that value before I move anywhere. I'm going to keep it going. And there it is. I finally had that value. See how hard I had to work? I had to keep going over. I had to keep getting pressure. And now I'm going to start moving my pencil down and lightening and lightening and lightening until I hit the other area. And what I'm creating here is my value scale. So now I'm going to take my blender and do the same thing. And I'll use the same area. You don't really need to get a new area when you're going into dark. I only switch it over to a clean area when I'm going into a lighter area. But I'm going into a dark area, so I'm going to reuse that. And I'm going to start off with a light pressure because at the beginning, I'm going to end up lifting that. I just want to blend it. And then light pressure still. If you got any stubborn parts, you just keep moving it. And that's the blender. Now, before we move on to the jug, I just want to show you one thing while we still have a lot of graphite on the blender here. This is a neat trick that I like to use for like light areas or really soft and fuzzy areas. Is I'll leave that on there. I won't clean that off unless I really need to, because what I can do with a blender that's already got some stuff in it is I can do little speckle drawing on something. You can just, and it's a very nice soft line if you want to add a line to your drawing without actually using the pencil. You don't have to blend it. It just comes off blended. So that's a little trick with the blender that I like to share. So does anybody have any questions before we start on the jug? All right. So that's our value scale. It's nice to have that in line, like you want to be able to see that. The next thing I'm going to recommend, and I'll leave the jug up there so you can see it, but I'm going to start with my 4B. And notice I turned the paper. And I did that because I want the edge of the tip of the pencil. See how that's going to already help me, because it's going to be on the edge of the jug. So I'm already going to have a nice crisp edge to start moving the pencil. Now, if I were to start like this, notice how awkward I'm going to start like this. So move your paper around so you can use your tools the best. And your tip of your pencil, when you're doing an edge, you're going to want that on the outside. Any questions before we start? How's it going for everybody? Just so? We'll practice. That's okay. It's good if there's a challenge, we know that we're at a place where we can learn something. So if it was easy, then we'd just be moving on. So is anyone noticing that using the blender is kind of fun? Yeah. Samantha, I kind of knew you'd like the blender. It is one of my all-time favorite tools. Also, did you notice that it takes away some of the dark values? So you have to go back in and darken them up. Yeah, that's pretty common. And so what you'll learn is the lighter the pressure, the less you'll drag all the graphite over. If you're using a lighter weight paper, that's also important, because if you've got like maybe a 70 to 90 weight paper, it's not going to hold what you're doing as much as 100 or 115 pound paper, drawing paper would hold. So pay attention to if you're struggling with the blender and getting the values that you want. It could be your paper. So try a smooth but a higher pound paper. So have we all got like at least a pretty dark value in a section? And then you've got a gradient somewhere on your jug between dark, a really dark section, and kind of a medium value. And so what I'd like to do is work a little bit with a kneaded eraser, because this is a drawing tool as well. It's not just, oops, I made a mistake. This is like the magic eraser. Unlike the real magic eraser, this honestly is, Vanish is the best eraser ever. We sell them for a couple bucks, but you can buy them online somewhere. I'm sure Amazon has them. I think that's where Phil gets them. So the kneaded eraser, I think we covered that. This is how you clean it. You just stretch it and the graphite will just magically, I don't know where it goes, honestly. You don't see it go anywhere or fall, but look it's just gone. So what I like to do, it's also, you warm it up. It's also a nice stress ball. So sometimes we'll just sit there in class and do this to it, but it's good. It will dry out your fingers. I found that the hard way. So go ahead and warm yours up and then flatten it out. So what I'd like you to do is just kind of discover how you can get some of these lighter areas, if they got a little dark, to lift them by starting with a lighter pressure and then almost like tapping it, so you can start to shape the darker areas. What this can help you do is use the kneaded eraser to help you get a gradient, especially if you went in and you got kind of a solid dark edge, and then you use the blender. You can use the kneaded eraser as well as the blender to kind of pull that back into that rounded edge that we see on there. Once you played with that area a little bit, I'll put this over here so you can see it, because my hand needs to go here. So feel free to continue on that part if you'd like. I'm just going to show you another part. If you haven't done this cap yet, just start getting some lines, kind of like the bucket last week. Just get some lines. It's in 2 tiers, the top half and then the bottom half. I don't know if you can see that. There's kind of a glare. And then there's the inside, or the top actually. Couple lines to follow. And you notice mine's pretty solid. So what you can do is, once you've got the value in there, you can play around and shape it. And what I do is I just pull this up and pinch it. So you've got a nice crease on there, and then you can use it so you can get lines in there. So I'm actually drawing the highlights. Into my lid. There's also a top part of this jug right along this section. You notice mine's just kind of there, and it has at least a medium value. You can shape that part of it and then go back in. Just pinch it after you've cleaned it off and put a highlight in there. So there's lots of things I purposely did wrong with my jug. See the width right here? It's really much wider. This comes out too far. There's things that we can check in by turning it upside down. Go back in and use the grids that we talked about. So I had intended on critiquing this very horrible drawing that I did of this jug, but we've only got 10 minutes left. So what I'm going to recommend that you do is, if you want to continue with this, you just, I know, we do this. We turn it upside down. We can't do it with figure drawing because the models, they just do not stand on their heads for us very long. So just kind of play around with turning it upside down, checking your center horizontal and verticals. This picture, again, is in the packet that I sent. If you did not get that email, I can very easily resend it. So just let me know. I just want to, with the last 5 or 10 minutes that we have, just talk a little bit about how this went for you. It's kind of an awkward platform. We had some bugs the first 2 classes, and of course, 3rd time's the charm. This is the beginning part, and if you didn't get my email this morning and read through it, you being all my lovely, beautiful guinea pigs, you'll be my guests in at least the first, if not the 2nd and 3rd round of doing this again. It'll all be different. Some are going to be basic to, so beginner 1 and beginner 2. I sent you the beginner 2 packet. So if you want a little sneak peek, it's going to brush up what we did here, but it's going to dive a little bit into the landscape focus packet that I sent you in the beginner 2. So if you're interested in that, you'll be there as my guest. So you'll just get the invitations like you have for this one. They'll be Monday nights. Sometimes I'll be traveling, so it'll be in different places. The long-term goal really is to be able to do this live out in nature, so that if you can't travel, travel teaching is my goal, especially Friday through Mondays. And so being able to teach from on the road is really exciting. I'm actually headed to New Mexico, and I will be working with a couple of different artists, so we're hoping to live stream. So with all that, just kind of in the background, I'm going to send you a feedback form so you can let me know what worked, what didn't, if there was anything technical that really kind of prevented you from getting the most out of this. I'd like to know so I can make it better for people coming on to new classes. So those will be my questions to kind of think about. For now, how did the blender go? How did the jug kind of, we pushed through it pretty quick, but if you have any questions, I can help you practice it at home. Let's address those for a minute first. So go ahead and unmute yourself when you're ready, if you have any questions. And raise your hand if you don't have any questions. Nope, nope, nope. And we're good. Excellent. So let's kind of move on to how was this for you? We've done 3 lessons. It's our 3rd one. Is there anything that you want to kind of share with the group about this?
I can go first if you want.
Sure.
I thought it was great. I live like 45 minutes away from your studio, so it's easy for me to be able to just log on and do this. I thought the Zoom format was great, so I appreciate this offering. And I think the way you broke it up was great. Start with the basics and just break things down and remind us to have fun with it. So I feel like I have a lot of tools to practice with. And, you know, practice is fun. Oftentimes I feel like I need to be creating a masterpiece if I'm going to be drawing, but just practicing is huge. I mean, I spent a lot of last week just drawing and shading planks of wood that I found online because I couldn't do the bucket. I felt I couldn't. So that helped, and then I was able to do the bucket a little smoother than probably it should have been, but yeah, it was fun. I had fun doing it. That's the point. It reminded me that that's the point. So thank you very much.
I'm so glad. The first packet I sent you, it actually did have some boards in there that you could use.
Yep.
So if you wanted to use those as templates, you wouldn't have to search for a random board.
Yep.
I gave you boards of wood. That was really great feedback. Thank you so much, Sam.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm glad you could come on board, and it will generally be on Mondays from 6:30 to 8:30. And notice I added an hour. So my long-term go-to really is to allow you time to draw and hopefully allow me to watch you draw, because I really work best when I can see you create and kind of help you make tweaks to get the most out of your time, our time together. Does that sound good?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thanks for joining. I'm so glad you came to this.
Yeah, thank you.
And I miss you in the studio.
I'll be back, I'm sure.
Yay. Thank you. Is that my cousin Sarah? Hi, how are you?
Yes, it is. Hi.
Hello.
Hello. Just got to Maine.
Oh my gosh, that's phenomenal.
So we're going to do your class by, we'll look at the recording. We'll do it together.
Absolutely.
Great.
Cool. Well, you can see what we've done today. We drew a jug today.
Awesome. I look forward to it. Yeah.
Fantastic.
I've really enjoyed the last 3 days or 3 weeks. Well, as I shared before, the artistic piece has not been something that I've spent a lot of time in. So it's been really fun setting time aside to just do that. And it's always fun to connect with you.
Thank you so much. I asked if there was anything that might have been a little challenging that you were hoping. Like, I do think that an hour was a little short, so I'll be extending the time. Is there anything else you might hope for if you were to join us again?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I thought it was great, and I did some practicing, which was really fun, and I went and got another 4B pencil. And it was, in fact, a problem. So thank you. So that's been fun playing around with that. And yeah.
Wonderful. Well, it's been so much fun drawing with you. Thank you so much for joining.
Great. Thanks, Sandy. Love you.
Love you too. Yeah. But Anne-Marie, I know this is your first class with us. And I think it's your first time to Zoom too. What'd you think? Oh, I'll unmute you.
I think the only thing that I might do different myself is get a camera so that, like you said, so because I know that a couple of times you had mentioned, watching the top of our heads as we're drawing.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to have my son set me up with some type of, so that you can look at it. You know what I mean? While I'm drawing. But when I'm visiting here in Delaware, it's perfect, because I can be in Syracuse right now. So this is perfect. I can still enjoy your company and I can still learn. And, even though she doesn't admit it, she's quite the artist too. So she's been sitting drawing a jug next to me.
Very good.
But no, this is great. No, this is awesome. Thank you very much, Sandy. I really enjoyed it.
Glad you could join. Check out the Beginner 2 drawing packet that I sent. It's a PDF. You can print that out and work right out of that. And the next round, which will be, it won't be before the end of August while I'm traveling. So you can just get some nice practice under your belt.
Oh, definitely. Plus, I'm going to start working on those daisies.
Excellent. All right. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Everything's good over here.
Excellent. Hope to see you back for the next one. Yeah, we missed you because you've been a student here for how many years?
Yeah. 3 years or so before.
Oh, you have? Yeah, 3 years you were here, and you've been gone for.
I've been in Boston for 2 years.
Yeah, so it's been a long time we've been friends.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining. Is there anything that you might add or change to the format or what I offered here?
No, I think it was pretty good to get, sort of right back down to the basics. So yeah, appreciated that. Also kind of got me back into a Blick's art store.
Oh no. Yeah, she texted me. How close are you to the Blick?
2 miles.
Yeah, I couldn't. No, I'd be broke. I couldn't do it.
So maybe I'll actually stop in to get some paints and start with the painting again.
Yeah, I'd love that. Make my day. Thank you. Well, it's good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you too.
Hannah.
This was really good. Like, I never give myself time to practice any drawing. Like, so I always like go right in because I have to get it done with. Like, I always have deadlines. So just like having like at least an hour just to like for myself and work on something. Like, even if it's not good, it's just like I'm already seeing the progress.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm so glad that you could join us. I know the phone's a little challenging to work on, but at least we got a little something more than the 2-hour-a-week class that we have. So thanks for joining. Really, I'm pleased that I really enjoyed doing all this. This has been in the works for many months, and you've seen a couple of the videos I've been putting out. I have volumes of video material, and I'm hoping to put out a bunch more so that you feel like there's constantly something you can kind of have a little takeaway. And I try and offer a variety of something like this is more, still life, which is not everybody's favorite, to sketching outdoors in nature. I probably won't do any figure drawing or portraits. It's not my forte. Wildlife and landscape is, so I pretty much try to stick to what I know. But I may have some guest appearances with, I'm hoping Ivor can come on. I've got a few other friends that would absolutely love to come and just kind of co-host and do some demonstrations. So that is in the work, but probably not till winter. So I hope to do a whole winter series that'll be virtual, so we can connect with different people from our different places we wouldn't normally see. So I will wrap up this after we get off of Zoom and just kind of piece together a little bit. There's at least 4 people that couldn't join us for the actual hands-on part. So feel free to redraw the jug again. And thank you again for joining and being a part of this. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.